It's incredible how a single sentence can bring down 2 years of history. I didn't even recognize the impact until it left her mouth and settled into the silence between us. We were on the couch last night, the television murmuring away with some forgettable program we weren't really watching. I asked what I thought was a harmless question. How was dinner with Liam? Liam, her ex. For half a year now, she'd been meeting him under the pretense of closure coffees or occasional dinners. Once a month like clockwork. Every time, I kept my doubts bottled up, swallowing the unease that gnawed at me. But this time was different. She'd walked in wearing the scent of a cologne I'd noticed before, once on her jacket weeks ago. I had brushed it aside then. This time I couldn't. I just wanted the truth. She didn't give me that. Instead, she smirked, then let out a small, mocking laugh. You get jealous whenever I see my ex, she said, her tone sharp as glass. Maybe that proves you're not boyfriend material. Her words didn't just sting. They landed like a gavel striking wood. A final judgment. I didn't argue, didn't protest, didn't even raise my voice. I sat still, staring past her at the blank wall. She waited, expecting a scene, maybe tears or desperate words. When nothing came, she huffed in frustration and slammed the bedroom door. I stayed where I was, letting her sentence echo until it became something clear. She was right. I wasn't the right material for the kind of boyfriend she wanted. And I was done trying to be. The next morning, she was already gone, no doubt imagining I'd spend the day brooding, only to beg for forgiveness later. Instead, I drove to a storage unit and bought a stack of large cardboard boxes. The rest of the day I worked methodically, room by room, boxing up her world. Clothes, makeup, novels, decorations, mugs, trinkets, all carefully wrapped and labeled. I handled everything with precision, not malice. Her mugs were cushioned with newspaper, her jewelry sealed in padded envelopes. By 4 in the afternoon, 12 taped boxes stood like soldiers lined neatly against the front door. Then I carried out the final step. Weeks ago, I'd noticed an old holiday card tucked away in a drawer, Liam's return address neatly printed. With that, I booked a premium courier service online. It cost me $227.50 for same-day delivery. By 4:15, I had a receipt in my inbox, complete with tracking number 8814B7992C. I printed it and placed it on the now bare coffee table. Every last belonging of hers was on its way to Liam's doorstep. I ordered a pizza and waited. Her first call came at 7:03 p.m. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice on the recording was panicked. Where's all my stuff? What did you do? This isn't funny. Call me back. After that came more calls, one after another, each one ignored. Then the texts started: confusion, anger, then outright threats. I read them all with a strange calm, like watching thunder roll across the sky from behind a sealed window. The real drama unfolded the following morning. My phone rang with an unfamiliar number. I answered, set it on speaker, and hit record. The voice wasn't hers, it was her mother's, sharp and accusing right out of the gate. I don't know what kind of twisted game you're playing, she snapped. But you can't just toss Rebecca out like garbage. She has rights. That's her home too. You can't lock her out. I listened without interrupting. When she finally paused for breath, I spoke evenly. Good morning, Karen. All of Rebecca's belongings were delivered yesterday. She should check with Liam. As for living here, maybe review the lease for apartment 4B. Her tone hardened. What does the lease have to do with this? It has everything to do with it, I said. Rebecca was never on the lease. She was my guest. Her invitation is now revoked. This had been part of my plan from the start, and I'd made sure the foundation was rock solid. When we'd first moved in, her credit was shaky and she'd just started a new job. To make things simple, I signed the lease alone. Back then it felt like a show of support. Now it was my safety net. The lease was explicit, Section 7, subsection C. No guest could stay more than 14 consecutive days without landlord approval. Long-term guests had to be added formally to the lease. She never was. And Mr. Henderson, our landlord, was a meticulous rule follower. Every detail documented, every clause enforced. I knew he'd back me without hesitation. Karen tried another angle. That's ridiculous. She paid rent. No, I corrected firmly. She transferred money into my account each month to help with expenses. The rent, utilities, everything official came directly from my bank account. I have records to prove it. She has no legal or financial claim to this place. Silence hung on the line, heavy with her barely contained fury. I didn't feel it. For the first time in 2 years, I felt completely steady, watching the entire house of cards fall exactly as it was meant to. You'll be hearing from our lawyer, she snapped before ending the call. I stared at the screen for a moment, then opened my laptop and began typing. The email was short, professional, and to the point. The recipient, Mr. Henderson, our landlord. The subject line, guest departure notification, apt 4B. In the body I wrote, Dear Mr. Henderson, this is to formally notify you that my long-term guest, Rebecca Martin, has permanently vacated the premises as of September 10th. As outlined in our lease agreement, I remain the sole tenant of this apartment. Please let me know if you require any supporting documents. Best regards, my name. I hit send at 11:32 a.m. By 12:19, his reply was sitting in my inbox. Thank you for the update. Your file has been amended accordingly. I screenshotted the exchange immediately and added it to the growing folder of evidence I'd been compiling. Another piece in my defense. For a few days after that, everything went strangely still. No calls, no texts, no confrontations. I even allowed myself to think maybe the threat of legal action had just been an empty bluff. Maybe they had decided to drop it. But I should have known better. The next attack came from a place I hadn't yet considered. Our circle of friends. There were 6 of us who'd been close for years. Me, Rebecca, and 2 other couples, Mark and Sarah, and Ben and Emily. We'd been each other's weekend plans, holidays, and dinner parties. On Thursday evening, I got a text from Sarah. Hey, can I call you? Something's come up. I agreed. Her voice was cautious, almost apologetic when she spoke. Listen, she began. I don't want to get dragged into this, but Rebecca's been posting some pretty ugly stuff in the group chat. She's telling everyone you had some kind of breakdown, that you screamed at her, threw her out with nothing but the clothes she was wearing, and that you've been obsessively controlling her. A cold weight settled in my chest. It wasn't enough for her to leave me. Now she wanted to scorch the earth behind her. Do you believe her? I asked quietly. Sarah hesitated. Honestly? It doesn't sound like you. But she's being very convincing. She's saying you were tracking her phone, that you threatened her. People are starting to take her side. So this was it. The smear campaign. I'd suspected it might come to this, but hearing the exact lies, with her words being spread to the people we'd spent years with, made it all too real. Could you send me screenshots of what she's saying? I asked. Sarah paused, but finally agreed. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed with 5 images from our WhatsApp group, the gang. I scrolled through them slowly. Rebecca's messages read like something out of a bad drama. Tear emojis scattered everywhere, exaggerated descriptions of my supposed cruelty, lines like I was terrified, he screamed for hours, and he probably destroyed all my belongings. All my family photos are gone forever. Ben and Emily were quick to rally to her defense, offering sympathy and encouragement. Mark's presence was quieter, just reactions, no real input. The most damaging accusation, though, was her insistence that I had screamed at her. That was the foundation of her entire narrative. And that was the one thing I knew I could dismantle. A flat denial wouldn't work. It would just be my word against her emotional performance. I needed proof. Something concrete. So I spent the next hour carefully crafting my response. Not in the group chat, but privately to Mark and Sarah. They were the most level-headed. The ones I thought might actually weigh the evidence. My message read, Hey guys, I'm not going to get into a public fight about this, but since you've always been our closest friends, I want you to see the truth. I'm attaching 3 things. 1. A screenshot from last month where Rebecca lied about being with Sarah when she was actually with Liam. 2. The courier receipt showing I spent over $200 to have all 12 of her boxes delivered safely to Liam's address. 3. The last text she ever sent me before I ended things. I think it speaks for itself. That third one was the keystone. After one of her supposed closure coffees with Liam, I had texted her, Hope you had a good time. feeling kind of uneasy about it. Can we talk later? Her reply. Stop being insecure. It's not attractive. We're just friends. If you can't handle it, that's your problem. I placed that text side by side with her claim in the group chat that I was a jealous, controlling monster. The hypocrisy was glaring. I ended my note with one line. I never screamed. I never threatened her. And I never threw her things away. I simply took her at her word when she told me I wasn't boyfriend material. And I sent her and her belongings to the man she preferred spending her time with. I hit send, turned my phone off, and went to bed. When I woke the next morning, Mark's reply was waiting for me. Wow. Just wow. We had no idea. Sarah and I are so sorry we ever doubted you. This is insane. We're staying out of it, but you have our support. Ben and Emily never reached out again. Just like that, the group we'd built over years was fractured. Rebecca thought she was destroying me, but in reality, she was cutting herself off. She underestimated me, assuming I'd let her narrative stand unchallenged. But with everything documented, her lies couldn't survive scrutiny. The irony was that she'd managed to alienate the only friends who might have blindly defended her. A week passed. The apartment was finally quiet. Mine. I moved the furniture around, bought a rug I actually liked, tossed the lavender candles she had always insisted on. For the first time in months, I could breathe. I let myself believe, briefly, that the storm had passed. That maybe this was the end. But then came the third escalation that it was the boldest stunt they'd tried yet. A Tuesday afternoon. I'm at my home office when an unknown number buzzes. It's Karen, Rebecca's mother, but this time her voice isn't furious. It's all syrup and sorrow. Hello, she coos, overly gentle. I know things have been difficult, but we've realized something terrible. An heirloom was left behind. Rebecca's great-grandmother's pearl necklace. It's been in our family forever. It's priceless, emotionally and financially. I let her speak, letting the trap set itself. Her tone cracks with manufactured distress. She suggests it may have slipped behind a dresser in the bedroom. Could we arrange 5 minutes for Rebecca to pop by with her? My skin went cold. There was no necklace. This was a classic Trojan horse, a manufactured emergency meant to bully me into reopening my door, giving them physical access so Rebecca could refuse to leave and suddenly claim tenancy. I couldn't bluntly refuse. That would make me out to be the heartless one. I needed proof to expose the con. That sounds serious, I said, carefully neutral. I have a security camera at the front door. I record on loop after a package theft a while back. Let me check the footage from the day she left. If she wasn't wearing it when she walked out that morning, then it must still be here. I'll call you back in an hour. There was a long pause. I could almost hear the gears in Karen's mind grinding as she realized the plan might be collapsing. Oh, she finally said, small. A camera. I see. I hung up before she could recover. I booted my laptop and pulled up the feed. The camera was nothing fancy, a Wisecam, but it recorded clear, time-stamped clips. I found the morning I'd packaged her belongings. September 10th, 8:12 a.m. The front door opens. Rebecca steps out dressed for work. She pauses in the doorway to check her bag. Right there, against her black blouse, hung the pearl necklace. Not a dainty keepsake, but a showpiece. The kind you wear to ceremonies and formal nights. She walked out wearing it, literally leaving with that piece of family history around her neck, as she walked away from me for good. I clipped a 15-second segment, zoomed on the pearls until there was no mistaking what they were, and attached the file to an email address to Karen. Subject: found it. The body of the message contained a single, calm line. Good news, the necklace wasn't left behind after all. See attached video from 8:12 a.m. on September 10th. Then I hit send. Silence. No reply, no follow-up call, no attempt to argue. That was the checkmate. I had produced indisputable, time-stamped evidence that Rebecca had been wearing the necklace as she left, and that her mother had attempted to manufacture a crisis to worm back into my apartment. Humiliation must have been inevitable on their end. There was no plausible spin. I presented the facts, unemotional and methodical, and the gambit evaporated. A month later, a stranger texted me from a number I didn't recognize. Hey, this is Liam. You don't know me, but you shipped your ex-girlfriend's stuff to my house a while back. My reflex was to block him. I wanted no more to do with any of them. But curiosity won, so I replied with a single question mark. He answered quickly. Just wanted to say thanks. That was the craziest thing that ever happened to me. She showed up at my door one night screaming about you. Then tried to move into my spare room. It took 2 weeks to get her out. She's a lunatic. You dodged a nuclear missile, man. His message hit me differently. A reminder that my saga had collateral consequences. I had never thought about Liam's side of things. He had been an unwilling player, the last domino in Rebecca's chaotic campaign. I replied with a short, sincere, "Sorry you got dragged into that. Hope it's all sorted now." His final text gave me a strange, private kind of closure. All sorted. Blocked her on everything. Realized how much therapy I needed after we broke up the first time. Your little delivery service was like the world's most expensive reminder. Cheers, man. Reading that, I felt a finality I hadn't anticipated. The chaos had finally spent itself. The lies had been exposed, the manipulations failed, and whatever bridges existed between us were reduced to ash. Rebecca's attempts to control the narrative, to smear me, to bait me back into drama, all had collapsed because I refused to play by her rules. I had relied on concrete evidence, the written agreement, and the law where appropriate. Rather than emotional reactivity, I blocked Rebecca's number. I blocked Karen's. I went to the kitchen, poured a whiskey, and allowed myself to enjoy the restorative quiet of my own space. A silence that felt like reclaiming territory. The episode had been messy and expensive in more ways than one, but it ended with a simple arithmetic of truth. She left wearing the necklace, her ace was a forgery, and the people she dragged along learned their lesson. Sometimes closure arrives not as a speech or a confrontation but as a small, undeniable proof that lets you stop arguing and just live.